You ever get hit with a "you should get out more" and feel this weird sting? Like, hold on. Since when is loving your own couch a character defect? Why does staying in automatically mean you're lazy or broken or, I don't know, wasting your life? Picture a Friday night. Your phone's blowing up. Drinks here, dinner there. Come out, it'll be fun. And you're standing in your living room, looking at that one lamp you bought specifically because the light is perfect. Your hoodie's right there. You've got something queued up to watch. And you feel your whole body just settle. Not excitement to leave. Relief that you don't have to. And then, right on cue, the guilt shows up. Am I boring? Am I becoming one of those people? Should I force myself to go? Here's what nobody really tells you, though. Wanting to stay home isn't laziness. For a lot of us, it's literally how we regulate, how we restore. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. Let me break down what's actually going on in your brain when this happens. The visibility trap. We're living in a culture that basically says if you're not seen doing things, you're not doing anything. Networking, socializing, posting, attending stuff, hustling. That all looks productive. That gets likes. Staying home in your sweatpants doesn't exactly make for great Instagram content, so we've collectively decided it means you're withdrawing from life. But your nervous system honestly does not care about optics. It cares about energy management. There's this concept psychologists call stimulation thresholds, and it kind of explains everything. Some brains are built to chase high levels of external input. Loud bars, new people, fast conversations. Other brains hit their sweet spot way sooner, and past that point, more stimulation doesn't feel fun anymore, it just feels like too much. If you're someone who genuinely prefers home, chances are your nervous system is just more sensitive to input. And I want to be clear, sensitive doesn't mean fragile or weak, it means differently calibrated. Think of it like a sound system. Some people need the volume cranked to 80 before they feel anything. Others are perfectly vibing at 35. You force that 35 person to sit at 80 and they're not having a good time. They're just trying to survive the evening. That's not laziness. That's just different wiring. The introvert thing, which everyone gets wrong. Okay, so the introversion-extroversion thing gets butchered constantly. Introversion isn't "I hate people." It's about where your battery charges. Extroverts tend to gain energy from being around others. Introverts spend energy around others and recharge alone. That's really it. There's no moral hierarchy here. It's basically metabolic. And there's real neuroscience backing this up. Your brain processes dopamine differently depending on your personality wiring. Extroverts seem to have a more reactive dopamine reward system when it comes to external stimulation. Introverts already have a higher baseline of cortical arousal, which basically means their brain is already busier at rest, so they don't need as much from the outside world to feel satisfied. When you pick your couch over a packed bar on Saturday night, that's not avoidance. Honestly, it might be efficiency. You're choosing the environment where your brain actually works best, home as a control zone. And this part goes deeper than most people realize. Home isn't just walls and furniture, psychologically speaking. It's the one place where you control basically everything. The lighting, the noise level, whether or not you have to talk to anyone. Your brain spends all day navigating this insane amount of social microsignals. Reading facial expressions, catching tone shifts, figuring out unspoken hierarchies at work. And home is where all that scanning finally stops. Think about how much background processing your brain does when you're out somewhere. Am I being weird right now? Are they bored? Was that joke okay? Is this conversation dying? Even if you're good at socializing, that stuff is running constantly underneath, and it burns through energy like crazy. At home, that dial just turns down. That's not you being antisocial, that's your nervous system decompressing. Solitude and creativity, the part people miss. Here's something I find genuinely fascinating. Neuroscience shows that when you're not actively doing external tasks, your brain kicks into what's called the default mode network. This is the system tied to imagination, self-reflection, daydreaming, memory processing. Your inner world, basically. People who like being
Think.
home tend to spend a
They
lot more
replay
time in that
things.
state.
They build scenarios in their head. They create. From the outside, it looks like they're doing absolutely nothing. But inside, there's a lot happening. There's a reason writers and artists and programmers and deep thinkers protect their alone time like it's sacred. It's not that they're avoiding life. That solitude is where the actual work happens. But let's be honest about the shadow side. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a flip side to this. Sometimes, I just love staying home can quietly slide into avoidance. Social anxiety can dress itself up as preference. Burnout can look a lot like introversion if you're not paying attention. And depression is really good at whispering, just stay in, and making it sound like self-care. So the question that actually matters isn't, do I stay home a lot? It's, how do I feel about it? When you cancel plans and feel this wave of relief mixed with genuine peace, that's alignment. You're where you should be. When you cancel and feel shame or loneliness or this low-grade dread, that's something different. That's worth paying attention to. Big difference. Psychology isn't really about slapping labels on behavior, good or bad. It's about understanding what the behavior is doing for you. Staying home as quiet rebellion. There's something culturally interesting going on too, and I don't think we talk about it enough. We live in this always-on era where notifications never stop. Work bleeds into every evening, and you're constantly comparing yourself to whatever curated version of life is on your feed. In that context, choosing to stay home is kind of an act of resistance. You're opting out of the noise. You're saying, my peace matters more than looking busy. And honestly, that takes more guts than people give it credit for. There's this Japanese concept called ma. It refers to the space between things, the pause that actually gives everything else meaning. Western culture tends to worship constant motion, constant output. But psychologically, we need that space. We need gaps in our schedule the same way music needs silence between notes. Side note, I think about this constantly when people brag about how packed their calendar is. Like, that's not the flex you think it is. People who love staying home are intuitively protecting that silence, whether they know it or not. Attachment and anchoring. And look, if you grew up in an environment where the outside world felt chaotic or unpredictable, your brain probably learned to associate home with safety on a really deep level. That kind of imprint can last decades. So staying home isn't avoidance at that point. It's anchoring. You feel grounded there in a way you just don't feel anywhere else. That grounding isn't laziness, it's regulation. The mask thing. There's also the autonomy piece. When you're home, you're not performing. You're not the coworker or the friend or the charming +1. You're just you. No adjusting masks, no managing impressions. For some people, that authenticity is genuinely like oxygen. And if home is the place where you can finally drop the performance and just breathe, of course your brain gravitates there. Why wouldn't it? Depth over breadth. Here's another angle I think deserves more credit. Some people want wide social networks. Lots of people, lots of interactions, high variety. Other people want fewer connections but deeper ones. Preferring to stay home doesn't mean you don't care about connection. It might mean you care about it differently. You'd rather have one real conversation than 5 shallow ones. You'd rather invite someone into your space on purpose than drift through a crowd making small talk that neither of you will remember. That's not antisocial. That's selective. And being selective with your energy is honestly a form of self-knowledge that most people never develop. Think about how many people burn themselves out trying to match social expectations that have nothing to do with how they're actually wired. They ignore their own signals because normal looks louder, looks busier. But you can only override your nervous system for so long before it starts fighting back. Resentment, irritability, that bone-deep fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. When you honor your preference for home, you're practicing attunement. You're listening to your own body instead of performing someone else's script. That's maturity. Full stop. The important distinction. Now, balance does matter. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. Humans are social animals. Long-term isolation genuinely chips away at well-being. The research on chronic loneliness is pretty grim, honestly.
Between chosen
But there's
solitude
a massive difference.
and unwanted isolation. Chosen solitude feels full. Isolation feels hollow. If your home feels like a sanctuary and not a cage, that distinction is everything. And there's something quietly radical about being genuinely comfortable in your own company. I've noticed most people can't sit alone for 10 minutes without grabbing their phone. If you can spend a whole evening with yourself and feel not just okay, but actually good, maybe even happy, that's not weakness, that's emotional stability. You're not running from yourself, you're comfortable with who you are. That's strength, and it's rarer than people think. So here's the reframe. Next time someone calls you boring for staying in, maybe smile a little differently. Not defensive, just knowing. Because you get something they don't. Your brain has a rhythm. Your energy has actual limits. And peace is not the same thing as apathy. Not even close. If anything, the real laziness is ignoring what you actually need, just so you can look busy to people who aren't paying that much attention anyway. What if loving home isn't about making your world smaller? What if it's about choosing the scale where you actually thrive? Some people come alive in stadiums. Others come alive in studios. Both matter. The world needs the loud voices and the quiet thinkers, the social butterflies and the deep roots. The point isn't to rewire yourself, it's to understand the wiring you've got. So if you're reading this thinking, finally, someone said it, give yourself some grace. Stop apologizing for choosing stillness. It doesn't need an apology. And if you love someone who's a homebody, maybe you see them a little differently now. Not disengaged, not lazy, just someone tending to their inner world with more care than most people bother with. Your home isn't just four walls, it's your reset button, your thinking space, your quiet harbor. And harbors aren't weakness, they're where ships go to refuel before they head back out to sea. I'd genuinely love to hear from you on this. Do you feel energized staying home? Or are you still wrestling with the guilt? Drop it in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else scrolling through here needs to read today. And if this made you feel even a little bit seen, a like actually helps more than you'd think. It pushes this toward people who probably need to hear it. Make sure you're subscribed too, because next time, we're getting into the 4 major psychological differences between millennials, Gen X, and Xennials. And some of these are genuinely surprising. If you've ever wondered why those generations seem similar on the surface, but feel completely different underneath, we're breaking it all down. Hit follow, turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.